All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Upstate Sports Corner presented by Big Picture Sports Group. I'm Jack, and this is Tommy.
How we doing?
Yeah, doing good. But to all of you, before we get into the sports part, I know we're a sports podcast, and what you really want to hear from us, we felt like we weren't obligated, but it was just something we wanted to talk about. So basically, me and Tommy wanted to address what's been going on in our country for over the past week and a half, 2 weeks. So obviously, most of you know, over a week ago, George Floyd was killed in broad daylight by 4 police officers in Minnesota. And I mean, honestly, it's kind of I was disgusted with how he was killed and how it happened, how they handled it all. Watching the video, it really disturbed me. I don't think I've seen anything more disturbing in my life. It really doesn't sit well with me. But following his murder, there were many protests that were led. There were some that stayed peaceful, and then some that turned violent. Tommy and I certainly don't condemn those who used the protests to turn it violent. But on the other hand, we certainly don't know what it's like to be part of the Black community, and we don't understand the struggles that they face. And honestly, while we don't understand that, we do understand that we are here to stand with you during this tough time, and we want to continue this fight with you. And we will be a resource to talk if anyone wants to reach out. And know you'll be safe talking to us. And again, you are not alone in this fight for justice, and we're here for you.
Jack summed it up pretty well. I mean, I agree with all of what he said. My take really being that I've seen on social media the last couple of days the fact that as a white person, I understand that I'll never understand what they go through because when I say I get pulled over, the first thing I'm thinking about is, oh, I'm a dumbass for I don't think twice about it. So, I completely agree with that, completely support the Black Lives Matter movement. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. And I think the thing that's gotten wrong with this is that people are making it a political problem, which I think is not right. I think it's a human rights problem. So I don't think there should really be sides in this. And like I said, I don't condone the looting at all because a lot of them are small businesses who work their ass off to get where they've gotten to. And I think a few bad apples is what we see in the media every day. And the media, they make their money through fear. So they're going to show the bad things that happen, and it's going to be, that's all we see. So we got to focus on the good things that are happening. I told Jack before we started recording, I saw a video today. This Minnesota woman was basically the media, show the media this, how, closer the Minnesota community's gotten, Minneapolis especially. Media doesn't want to show that. So I think there's a lot of good things that are coming out of this too.
Yeah, I mean, as Tommy said, there are good things that do come out of bad things. It's part of human nature. We tend to see the bad, but also the good. And I think
the protests are working too. The peaceful ones are really.
Yeah, I think
working.
Protests are working. We're seeing a lot of uncomfortable discussions that, I mean, honestly, have needed to be had. I think you're seeing a lot of people responding in a positive manner in that they are talking about this, and everyone really just wants change. We're in the year 2020. This country should not be dealing with the problems that we are today, and it's sad that this happens. But through protest and through discussion, I have faith in this country that all of us can band together and make a change. So yeah, that's and as I said earlier, we know we're a sports podcast and you really listen to us to hear our sports, but we didn't think it would be right to not address this before we got into our sports from this past week. So Thank you for listening to that, guys.
But yeah, to kind of shift into more sports now, the MLB proposal. Basically, I saw Jerry Karavis actually tweeted today that they want to do a 48-game schedule, which I think players don't want to do. And for me, I wouldn't want to see it because watch a team, like one example I heard the other day was the Mariners. Basically, like if they played like 48 games, they would have been like one of the best teams in the league. Like, I think that's BS. But I think so. They were at a proposal, and basically the owners didn't want it. Jack, is that right?
Yeah, so from what I understood, it's been going back and forth. So the owners proposed the 50-60, somewhere in there, season with the prorated salary. The players said no. They countered with a 114-game season. And then before today, what the owner said was they said no, that's ridiculous. We're not going to counter argue to that. So, but then today, as Tommy said, there's reports that the owners have released a proposal of 48 games, which is kind of like a slap in the face. You're like, all right, you're offering this high, like we're going to go this low now. So,
do you think the Yankees are built well for a short season? That's all I think about when I hear about them. Like, well,
I think we kind of talked about this last episode, and I think, I mean, if we are not injury ridden in the start like we have been, I think we are, because like if you look on paper, we're arguably the best team in the league. So I mean that's obviously a good sign, and if the players are clicking, it really depends on when the players click, right? So I personally think that they are, but I also think it adds a lot more pressure to other teams that it's like a 50-game season, Like you gotta make all of the games count. We can't be we can't be stooping down to the level of crappy teams we play, and we have to play well against good teams,
Yeah, I also think the strength of the bullpen's big, especially when you gotta win games. Like, look at the bum ass Mets. Last year they blew so many games with their bullpen.
I think they had the most blown saves.
You're literally just handing games away when the Yankees didn't do that. And I think, especially in the playoffs too, you can see it.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
bullpen was
we
huge.
obviously know the Yankees have the best bullpen in baseball, and we've seen the bullpen come to the rescue in a lot of games. So I think you're right in that having that shorter season is good from a bullpen stance, because I don't think Boone is going to be afraid to put players in more than, for example, over the course of a 162-game season and then the playoffs. You're realistically looking at, let's say you have a 60-game season, you're realistically looking at like an 80-game season in total, if you include the playoffs and going like all the way through.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting too how Boone changes the way he manages. Because I feel like in the regular season, it's like you let your starter, like say your starter gives off like 4 runs in the first inning, you're going to let him go for a bit just to save the bullpen. But like if these games count more, like is he going to wear out the bullpen more during the regular season? Will that affect the playoffs? But I mean, I think we have enough arms for one really. But like
for sure.
Other teams, so like the Mets. I mean, who do they have? Edwin Diaz is nasty.
Familia, is he still there?
They still have Gesellman.
I don't know. I'm not a huge.
I don't know either.
They have Dylan Betances now, so they have Dylan.
They do have Dylan. I forgot.
Yeah, I hate that.
That's one of those things during quarantine where you just forget a player.
I know.
Like I forget like
Didi to the Phillies,
like Brady to the Bucks.
I know. Yeah, it kind of slips your mind. But yeah, as you said, like it's going to be interesting to see how Boone responds to this. And it's really going to be interesting to see how like the rest of the league responds too. If there is the shorter season, if there is a season, I mean, who knows what's happening, but it's really going to be a true test to see how you're going to use your team and when. I honestly think I'm open to the idea of having. What are your thoughts on having like a 4-man rotation? 3-man, I wouldn't say 3.
With the bullpen being the 5th. So like every 5th day you start like Chad Green.
Yes, so that
Yeah.
regulates like having Cole, Paxton,
I mean, it
Tanaka
worked
like
last year.
Hap
They
like
lost like 2
regularly
games.
pitch, and then once you go to the postseason, you shift to that 3 team that like most teams go to now. How do you
I'm
feel
actually
about
gonna look
that?
that up right now.
So it gets like more, because then I feel like you get more innings pitched for your pitchers, which is good. I mean, it's obviously nice to have them well rested, but I feel like you still need to get them in the groove of pitching for that postseason. So I would personally be open to like a 4-man rotation. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
say
would too.
3 at the start of the season, but I think like towards the end, like you can incorporate that. So
It worked last year though. I mean, they lost like 2 or 3 games just from that.
yeah, I mean they had the consistent they had the Chad Green going in starting the game when they did the bullpen day. Towards the end when everyone kind of came back, I think they moved Hap into that 5. But yeah, I mean also we have a lot of depth in the starting pitching. Even with the loss of Severino, you still have Cole, obviously, Paxton, Tanaka. You have what we
What
think
about
a healthy Jordan Montgomery. Yeah. So.
wait, no, but is his suspension still gonna be?
Oh, that's a good
Yeah,
question. So would
I
it
don't think
be?
he's coming back.
Well, I think with a regular schedule, it'd be a third of the season, or was it just like a hard like
Pretty sure it's a
six?
hard 50 game or
Oh,
closer there.
okay. So,
Well,
oh, that's a
so he
good
has 60.
question.
He has 63 games left of his 81 game suspension.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
But I don't know
I
how.
doubt he
I don't
comes.
know if they're gonna let him off the hook.
I doubt that. I think. Yeah, I don't think so. That's a good point. I forgot about him, but
Yeah,
I mean, you also have uh, a Jordan Montgomery coming off of injury. I'm
and he
excited to
looked
see
good.
how
He
he
looked good in
does.
spring training
Yeah.
too.
Um, also have Hap back another year. So theoretically, you could have a good. I wouldn't say like a great starting 5 rotation, but it's like good enough where it wins you games. And then
Yeah,
obviously the bullpen can come in. Um,
definitely.
and with the proposal that they had um, for the shorter season, it means that you have more players in the depth chart. So you can also bring in like the young pitchers too to
Hmm.
get them experience, like King, um,
Garcia.
Garcia. Do they still have Acevedo, whatever his name is?
I.
I
I
want
should.
to say they do,
I should
but
really know this.
yeah. But
They
I
might
mean,
have gotten rid of him.
okay. Well,
I think.
either way,
I
they
think they
still have
might
young
have.
pitching that's impressive, and they still have.
Yeah, no, they have. But dude,
Listen, I
their
think
farm
either way,
system.
whatever season the Yankees have is gonna be a good one. If it's 50 games, if it's 120 games, it's still gonna be good. And
I just think as long as they make the playoffs, it
yeah.
doesn't mean because like I feel like home field advantage is not gonna matter. So like
Well,
just get
also,
in.
would they be playing? I feel like they wouldn't be playing at everyone's stadium. I feel
Yeah,
like
I know
you
that's what I'm saying. Just get into the playoffs and you're good.
right. So there's still a lot going on with working out the little parts of baseball, getting it back. We really hope it's coming back. Kind of transitioning into other sports coming back. The NBA and the NHL are definitely coming back. Most recently, the NBA approved of the 22 team season return. Um, Adam Silver reported that yesterday, and it's going to be held in Orlando. So it's going to be uh, at the Disney World sites, that's awesome. Kind of a rundown of how it's going to work is you're going to have 8 games before the playoffs, and they're calling it 8 seeding games. So it seeds you where you are, and they're only taking 16 teams in the playoffs. So that means that 6 are going to be cut out of that 22. Um, I think what they had is they only had 9 teams from the East, and then 13 from the West made it. So it kind of shows how deep the West is, obviously. Like we saw teams like the Suns make it. The Spurs, I think, were the last team in the West. So it's another pop Spurs
Who do
team
the
that made the
Spurs have
playoffs.
now? Like Patty Mills.
DeRozan, Aldridge, uh,
Patty
Kyle
Mills, I think.
Anderson, maybe. I
Is
don't know.
Patty Mills still a Spur?
I don't think so. Oh, Lonnie Walker, that kid from
Oh
Miami.
yeah, I've seen him in the
Um,
news for the protests and stuff lately.
Oh yeah.
Actually.
Okay. Um,
His big ass hair.
yeah. That's honestly,
I
if I
remember when
could
he
grow
was.
that. Do you remember when he was drafted?
I remember when I was gonna say that. I remember when he played for Miami. They lost to Loyola Chicago
Yeah.
first
He was
round.
a bucket in high school. He probably still is now, I would assume.
Well, obviously he's like,
Yeah.
gets good minutes on an NBA team.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it's gonna go. And then once the season ends, August 25th, there's gonna be the draft lottery, and then October 15th will be the NBA draft. So I have August 25th in my calendar for
Forgot about the
another
draft.
year that the Knicks are gonna get rigged, get screwed out of a good pick.
You think the
Um,
Knicks should get LaMelo?
I would love if they got
Honest
LaMelo.
question.
I would
So
love
I'm
it.
like torn. I don't know if they should because it's a lot of like if like I feel like LaMelo's either gonna be amazing or he's gonna be absolutely terrible.
So
Like
I
G like
the
G League bad.
the way I look at this is we all know Melo as that kid that scored like 92 in high school, right? Like just chucking it up from everywhere. But when he went over to the NBL, it really from what I've seen, it really elevated his game to like an NBA caliber level. Um, Another point guard that I really like is Cole Anthony,
That's what I
the
was
New
gonna
York
say.
native. I honestly, I was talking with some of my friends last night. We kind of agreed, like, we see him as a D Rose kind of product. He's a
But a
great,
better shooter.
yes, he's a great playmaker. Um, Honestly, he isn't afraid to attack the rim either, which I like. But the
Isn't
only
he
thing,
kind of small though?
he's
Isn't he like 6'2"?
small,
I'm gonna look that up.
but then also, like, I'm worried about his defense. I don't think he's not obviously known for his defense. But yeah, if they got any of those two guys at they need a point guard.
He's 6'3", but that's probably giving him like
6'3",
an
okay.
inch.
All right. I mean,
6'3", 190.
that's not terrible. It's not tall, but it's not like bad. But
Yeah.
as I was saying, like as long as they get a point guard, if it's LaMelo, Cole Anthony, or also like Killian Hayes, another point guard. As long as they address the guard situation, you're building a young core around RJ, Mitchell Robinson, and then whatever point guard you get. Realistically, I don't think Kevin Knox has a future in New York. I do agree he hasn't been given time to excel in the Knicks system, but it still doesn't look promising. So you build the young core around them, you find a coach that can coach them well, and you kind of just go from there. But what I am excited to see in this return to NBA is where teams pick up from where they left off. Do we see the Lakers excel where they were? Do we see the Bucks play well again? But also you got to look at these teams that are kind of like given their last chance to come in. Like, does Zion and the Pelicans play well?
Zion's huge. So I was thinking about this yesterday. I could see Zion just like going off and that team just going off and just like going like win a chip.
I mean,
I
a
think
chip is kind of far, but
yeah, but like
I don't necessarily agree with that. But then it's like the Zion rule. Like they literally added a rule just so Zion can play in this, and I'm not opposed. Like it's fun to watch him play. But
yeah, no, I'm hyped for it.
It's gonna be awesome to see like how all these teams do in like this obviously odd setting. Like no one's prepared for this, no one's ready for it. So it's just gonna be fun to have basketball back. It's awesome.
Also, I think I'm gonna mention it right after this, but I'll just mention it right now. Like the fall is gonna be crazy for sports.
Yeah,
it's gonna be so crazy.
You'll have obviously like the NFL is gonna be back. The
NFL
NBA will still be in.
They don't give a fuck, dude.
They're just like, all right,
the
cool.
entire league gets infected.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like, all right, cool. You're fine. The NFL will be the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. Hopefully the MLB will be back. So you have your 4 major sports all in, I mean, you're assuming the month of September. So it's awesome to think about.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that. I know we talked about this last episode, but are you still sticking with your Lakers championship?
Yes. 100%. 100%.
So I've kind of had a revelation of some sorts, I guess.
Changing his opinion week to week. Classic.
No, I didn't say that. But you're not wrong. I still like the Clippers in the finals, but I'm liking the Bucks to win it all. And the reason I like the Bucks,
Jeff Van Gundy over here. I saw it on Twitter the other day. He's like, oh, the Bucks are gonna win it. They're the deepest rotation.
If you think about it, though, yes, the Clippers do have a deep team, like a deep defensive team, but like you're not. I mean, Kawhi did it once, like stopping Giannis last year in the playoffs, but like he's not gonna do it again.
No, Giannis.
Middleton's a great shooter. You still have you have one of the Lopez brothers, Brooke, I think.
I think they're starting 5 because I actually followed them a bit during the season. It's Giannis, Middleton, Brooke Lopez.
Do they still have
They have both.
They still have Malcolm Brogdon. I don't think they do, right?
No,
wasn't he traded?
No. He was traded. And then Dante DiVincenzo.
Okay.
And then who's the 5th? Eric Bledsoe, maybe? I think it's Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah, okay, point guard, yeah. It's just a good team, and when they click, they're good. They were the first team in, I mean, to be fair, it was in the East, but they were the first team to clinch a playoff spot. And Giannis is a scary dude. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. If I was a fan of having him come in full steam at the basket, like,
yeah,
shit's crazy.
So, I mean, we're excited for the season to be back, starting hopefully, assuming everything goes well, July 31st. And then the other
NHL, like done with the NBA, done like the board has approved it.
So, as I'm going into NHL, they have approved it. They have solidified that they'll start, I believe, training July 1st. You can go back and train. They're still talking about which cities. It's going to be held in 2 cities, one in the East, one in the West. Not necessarily like the 2 cities. One has to be in the East, one has to be in the West, but like to host the 2 conferences. But it announced, it approved, it's back. A little breakdown of how it's going to work is you're going to have a qualifying round, which is a best of 5. That is from seeds 5 to 12 or 13, I think. I think it's 12 because you have a 24 team. It's 24 teams.
Yeah.
So it's 5 to 12, and then on each side it's a best of 5. And then the top 4 are playing each other in a round robin for seeding purposes to go from there. And then once you move into the other rounds, it switches to best of 7. And the catch here, I guess the catch, is that each round they reseed. So they go from the
That's so weird.
So they do like the highest seed, then plays the lowest advancing seed, and then from there on out. So, I mean, it's an interesting thought that you don't necessarily have like a set team that you're playing. Like it can switch.
I understand me saying it's weird because, like, I mean, just because it's different, but like it makes sense.
Yeah,
but
no, it makes sense.
I just
kind of
like,
cool.
I don't know. I like it when you know exactly like who your next matchups are gonna be. So like no matter like what the seeding is, because like you could see a team like tank to 2 just to play a certain team that may be like not hot. That's gonna be like a 7 seed. Like you know what I mean? How teams do that for like NBA and NHL playoffs. Like they don't do it on purpose, but you like say you're happier to be a 2 seed than a 1 seed.
Well,
like,
they definitely have they have the qualifying round. The seeds are set there. So like you know who you're playing in the first round.
But you said, isn't it basically like, say like there's an upset in seeding, so the highest will play the lowest?
Yes, that is correct.
Matter, yeah. That's what I was getting at.
I agree that there's the element of surprise, like you don't know who you're gonna play next. But I also think it's kind of cool that you get it's like you don't know who you play, so it makes you kind of want to play harder just to like be in it.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
they're still working out the details of where it's going to be played. But I'm excited. I mean, as we said last time, we're big hockey fans. We like the Rangers, and it's kind of going to be exciting to see like this Rangers team come back. And we know their playoff experience has been pretty eventful in the past. Once they make it to the playoffs, they kind of mesh well. Not necessarily win it. They haven't won in forever. It feels like 94, 95. But
I think the NHL playoffs is the most like open, like favorites don't matter, seeding doesn't matter. It's
of
just like
course. Well,
who's hot for that
we
like
saw
2 week
last year
period.
the best team. The You can argue the best team in regular season history. Tampa Bay Lightnings got swept by the wild card Capitals in the first round. Like anything can happen, right? So yeah, I mean, as you said, like the playoffs are so much fun in the NHL because everyone puts it on the line. Um, everyone's going balls to the wall. They're blocking all the puck shot. They're going on an extra shift. It's just really fun to watch. So something that we have to look forward to, and I'm excited.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's gonna wrap up kind of our NBA and NHL talk. Not too much regarding it, but it is back. So fun.
Yeah, so winners and losers, some segments.
Yeah, let's get right
Um,
into that.
so I'll start with my winners. Kind of talked about earlier, Zion. We're gonna get to see Zion for another 3 months. Hope maybe if they make it far.
Yeah,
So that'll be fun. That'll be a lot of fun.
yeah.
Also, regarding the NBA, the media hype up to July 31st is gonna be like unreal
It's gonna
for a
be
game that
epic.
probably doesn't matter that much. Like it
Right.
does, but it's not a playoff game.
I think it's gonna be very hyped up, and I think for like a good reason though. I mean, like the thought of it's just cool, and I do agree. We were talking about this earlier. Like it's the Zion rules, like getting Zion into the playoffs. Like it's gonna up the TV ratings for sure.
Yeah.
And also to see like a gritty Pelicans team in it.
Hmm.
So it's kind of cool.
And then my other winner being the months of September and October. And like I said, talked about it earlier, but that's going to be crazy. There's a chance we could have playoff basketball, playoff hockey, football, and baseball going on all at the same time,
Yeah.
which is cool as fuck.
We were talking about this before the show. There's a specific day, September 20th. It's a Sunday, so we can potentially have NFL regular season, the NHL playoffs, the NBA playoffs. I think the final round of the U.S. Open, golf, and am I missing any? I think that really covers.
No,
I mean probably and maybe MLB.
Yeah, a baseball game. So like a 1:05 p.m. Yankee start.
Yeah.
Where they're playing like the Blue Jays on a Sunday.
And then the Giants are playing at. We'll give them I don't know when the Giants are playing that day. Probably a 1:00 game too, because they have no big games. They have no primetime games except the 2 Monday night games. And then you go from there to some nighttime NBA and NHL hockey. And then throughout the afternoon, you're just seeing the U.S. Open round or finish out. So
they play the Bears.
Oh, that's a Monday night game.
At 1:00.
Oh, that's not the Monday night game? Okay, so obviously, yeah, we called that. It's a 1:00 game. But sports are back. That's all I can say.
Love it.
Back.
Absolutely love it. What's your winners?
Yeah, so my first winner is Disney World. Who doesn't love Disney World, the magical kingdom, and now the host of the NBA season. It's a sick place, and it's kind of cool to see an NBA season finish there. It's just kind of funny to me, but it's gonna be awesome to see it be in Disney World. We're going to see a lot of interaction. We're going to have to see a team take a picture in front of the Magic Kingdom. I think that
Oh yeah, in front of the castle.
it just needs to happen.
Definitely.
Someone's got to take a picture with Mickey Mouse. Do we want to right now call if any of the Disney characters wear like a certain team's NBA jersey?
Oh, definitely. They're gonna be at the games.
What? Okay, so we'll remember this now. What is going to be the first NBA jersey that a Disney character wears?
Jesus. Probably LeBron Lakers.
LeBron Lakers.
Or like I don't know.
I'm gonna go
It's gonna be some good team.
I'm gonna go with a team that's not in it, but the home team Orlando Magic. I don't know.
Are they gonna wear a team that's not playing?
I think like it's like you gotta pay like tribute to like your home team.
I guess so.
Maybe. I don't know. Okay, how about this? If it's not a team that's not in it, the team that I think that will be in it, would it be too much of a cop-out answer to say Zion, like a Pelicans jersey?
It's not a cop-out answer. I mean, I said LeBron.
So then Zion.
That's as cop-out as you can get.
There. All right. Listen, that's what I say. And then my next winner is I rarely talk about them in a good light, just because they're the cross city rival, but it's the Brooklyn Nets. They are in the 22 team season return, and they have the potential of having a healthy Kyrie Irving and, from what we would assume, a somewhat healthy Kevin Durant back and playing. How do you think this team does with them coming back?
I mean, so I actually thought about this, and do you remember the game KD came back, and then he basically like tore his Achilles against the Raptors?
Yes, I do.
He came out chucking, and he was making everything.
Right.
So I feel like it doesn't really matter how much time KD takes off, and he's been like training and stuff, and like, so I think they're gonna be. I think they could surprise some people. Not really, wouldn't be actually surprising at all, but they'd be good.
That would be kind of sick to see them back, and like, it's not like a cheating kind of way, but it's like, oh damn, like this team's back, like that's tough, right? So
yeah,
it'd kind of be cool to see like them back playing, and like if so right now they're a 7 seed in the East, so say like all the seeding works out, like for them to be playing a 2 seed, like I think it's the Bucks or the Raptors, so like that's not your typical 2-7 game, so it's kind of cool.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
So losers, I'll start. I'll start right with the Nets. So why are they my loser? The pub and build up and everybody just talking about it's gonna be so annoying, I feel like, to them. So I think they're gonna they're gonna get like the pub just be like, oh, where is Kyrie and KD coming back? We're just gonna be hit with that on the internet forever.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's gonna be.
Actually, I'll change that to Nets fans, because you know what's going to happen? They're going to get way too hyped up for it, and then it's not going to happen. And then, they're just going to false hope. And so that's going to be shit. Isn't Ian Broderick a huge Nets fan?
Yep. Our friend Aiden is a big Nets fan. If you're listening to this, shout out.
He's seen your quotes.
Yeah. He's a big Nets fan, and he has talked about this possible return. But
it's not gonna happen. Just telling you right now.
I doubt it.
And I hope I'm an old take exposed, but
they should just have KD rest and like just come back healthy next season. Because what's the point of playing?
That's why it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's yeah. That's all I have to say on that.
My other losers, you could spin zone it both ways, but the LeBron, if you're avid on Twitter, which I think most of our listeners are, the LeBron step back move or whatever you call it, it's like he goes to his right, takes a dribble, picks up the ball, looks at it, then brings it back and shoots it. And I saw somebody quoted, it's like, can't wait to watch LeBron tear up the league with this like bum ass move. And it's like it just seems so simple and just dumb, and people are just like it's a terrible move, but like he makes 3 all the time.
I'm gonna spin zone that and say your loser should be players for still not picking up on that move and still falling for it.
Yeah.
Because yes, you're right. It's such a basic move, but for it to still be effective in this day and age is like kind of funny.
Yeah,
So,
it's just so weird. Like,
and I don't think we realized like
it's not even a
that
move. I never even regarded it as a move.
I was gonna say I didn't
but,
even
like,
recognize like that was something that he did until
it's
like
just him
we
pulling up
saw
in
that
someone's
video,
face.
and it was like a video where you're like it doesn't even seem like a move, right?
Yeah.
So for people falling for that, it's funny.
So yeah,
Is that
what's
are
your
you
last
all you're
losers
done?
there, Mr.
Yeah. So
Butterfield?
I am gonna start out. I have 3 losers this time. I'm feeling more pessimistic than optimistic, I guess. And the first is I feel like this is always going to be a loser until something happens, but the MLB, obviously,
Yeah, fuck yeah.
it would be the biggest laughing stock of a league if they don't return this season. Um, and I think it's just like a bad look for the future of the MLB if like this doesn't happen, because how are you gonna be that league that didn't bring together something you didn't agree with your stars? And I don't know. I just think
Can I spin zone this?
to make them a winner.
Not to make him a winner, just to look at it from a different point of view.
Okay.
If we don't have a year without baseball, I feel like next year's baseball season will be that much more anticipated.
I want like from me being a baseball fan, yes, I agree. But at the same
Like,
time,
obviously nobody
you're
wants
losing
that, but
you're losing a whole market of like these young players as it is, or young fans as it is. So to go
to
from
take a
not
year
having a
off.
season, no one's gonna like no one is gonna be like, ah, damn. Like if you're not like a big MLB fan, you're not gonna be like, ah, there's no MLB this season. Like you're gonna be like, all right, like fuck that. You have the NFL, you have the NHL, NBA. Like you're still having sports. Like MLB is just kind of gonna be forgotten about, in my opinion. So to have it go to the next season, obviously the baseball fans are gonna be like, let's go. Like this is so anticipated, right? But for any other like, I guess you could say up and coming fan, I guess it's gonna be like, okay, like whatever. Like they're not gonna really view it as that. So they need to come to an agreement soon. We here at Upstate Sports Twitter need baseball back. We're itching. And then my next loser that I had was the New York Knicks. They're always a loser for me until they do something right. They're on the coaching carousel right now, and a name that has come up that is quoted his to lose the coaching job is Tom Thibodeau. He was the old coach of the Bulls and the Timberwolves, other teams, but more recently them. And I'm not sold on him. He's like an old school coach, and he's not one to like build up a young Knicks team, like a rebuild Knicks team.
Yeah, we'll see. I just have stopped paying attention.
Yeah, the Knicks have been so disappointing
until they're even remotely relevant.
Yeah, they're just disappointing. The one last thing I do want to say about the Knicks is I want Coach Kenny Atkinson he was the ex-Nets coach, and the way he built up that young Nets team and has kind of brought them to where they are now is something like that I would want for the Knicks. But that's all Knicks I have for today. I'm gonna get mad if I speak more on it. Oh, regarding Knicks, like if I want to get a little more mad, I will right now. The biggest loser I guess is James Dolan. He's always a loser, right?
Wait. So was he the only owner to vote against the?
So I read something
that?
today, and apparently it was the Portland Trailblazers owner.
Oh, it was.
Which I don't know why. Like it would seem like such a Dolan thing to do.
I remember when that report came out, everybody on Twitter just kept sending
Yeah.
like to James Dolan.
Quickly, just to address like what he did, he sent out. It was during like this past week where the protests were going on, and a lot of owners were like sending their support to the team. And what he did was he not only didn't send his support, but he said that it didn't feel right to have an opinion on it, and everyone lost their minds. Like everyone was like, what is this guy doing? He then later came out the next day to like say like, oh, obviously I support you, but it was like too late. Everyone's like, fire Dolan. So that, or step down Dolan, you obviously can't fire him. But enough next talk for today. I'm done with them.
I think we should get some best of Twitter because
Yeah.
today
I have one more loser. I do have
Oh.
one more loser. As I said earlier, I'm a little more pessimistic.
it better be a good one.
We need to talk about college basketball a little bit. Not really. I'm only going to brush over this, but Oklahoma State, they just received the postseason ban for the 2020-21 season. This hurts because their biggest recruit that they have brought in, five-star Kate Cunningham, literally just committed there. I want to like very recently, and
Recruits, not to interrupt that, but how about your boys from Syracuse?
yeah, they've brought in some they've had a pretty good week in recruiting.
My guy, well, first of all, I mean, we're gonna be graduated by then, but my guy Dior Johnson,
Yeah, Dior,
New York,
nice.
upstate New York ball hype.
He's nice, I will say. They have him.
If he stayed in high school, and for those of you that are familiar with this, if he stayed in high school, because he started at Socrates in 7th grade, he would have beaten Joe Girard's record, I think, his points record.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was dropping
Fair.
like 35 as a 7th grader on varsity.
Fair.
And now he's the number 1 point guard in his class.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
So Syracuse brought in Benny Williams, and he's a top 50 player, and I forget who the other guy is, but another.
I don't want to get into it a lot, but yeah.
Cade Cunningham just committed to Oklahoma State. He's top 5 player in the country, and it looks very bad for him. A potential one and done player to not be in the postseason would suck for him. So we'll be interested.
He doesn't give a shit.
Let's just say I'll be interested to see what happens.
Kid wants to get to the league. That's it.
Fair. We'll be interested to see what happens.
But all right, that's the Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm pretty hyped. I mean, most of our listeners probably know. So Barry, McCockner, whatever, ultra tough teen, total tough scene, mega tough scene.
Yeah.
They call him Mr.
You know who
scene.
this guy is.
Whatever you call him. He's the only person that's been getting me through this tumultuous time. Honestly, he's just hilarious because I go on Twitter and all I see is, all the negative stuff, and he's just hilarious. Like, so yesterday he made his account. What was it? Right here. So he left his account as like, because a lot of times he trolls using like, he'll change his account to
Ian
like
Rappaport or like Schefter.
But for this one, he replied to a news station, and he was like, let me read. Should I read the tweet?
Yeah, why not? If it's the one I think you're thinking of, yes. Why not?
It's the 4-year-old son one. Anyway.
Yep.
So he made the local news. It was just a complete lie. Just was trolling the news station.
Local New Orleans news.
They put it on the news station, and it was just hilarious because he trolls everyone. All these like blue check accounts believe him. And it's just the most like obscene stuff. And then I just read a tweet. He replied to it. He's like, Barry. He wrote in quotes like people saying he's like, Barry is washed now. He put me. It was like the Undertaker, Brock Lesnar walking back out with WWE, like coming back. It was so funny. Anyway, but yeah, no, he's the troll of the year. Definitely give him a follow.
Yeah, for sure. And then my best of Twitter for today is St. Louis Cardinals pitcher Jack Flaherty. He has been very outspoken on Twitter regarding wanting the MLB season to start. He's been responding to a lot of pages that have been like NBA starting, NHL starting, and he's like, great, like it's got the MLB to start. Like he's been very outspoken on that. He has all these funny gifs that he replies to. But yeah, he's one of these young pitchers that he's fun to watch. Actually, he's a good pitcher, and he's just like us. We want the season to start back. So that kind of wraps up our best of Twitter, and it really wraps up our episode for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Again, thank you for listening to what we had to say in the beginning. regarding what's going on in this country. And we hope that you are more informed with the sports aspect of what we talked about, but as well as everything we talked about, what's going on in our country. So thank you for listening to another episode of Upstate Sports Corner, guys.
See ya.